Well, good evening. We want to welcome you to In the Blender with Brandon and Madeline Hyman. I tell you guys, we are just so excited to be on with you guys on this evening. I tell you, so we're going to have an awesome time on tonight. I know you guys were just thinking about the broadcast last week before last that we shared. And if you thought that was a great program, you're going to be in store for a great treat on tonight. And so we are just ready to roll. We're going to be talking about perspectives, difficulties in the blended family. I told you guys on last week that this year, 2020, we're endeavoring to go on the edgy side of the blended family. So there are going to be a lot of topics, a lot of things that we discuss. They're going to be quite insightful, quite impacting, just going to be thought-provoking, some things that we've heard, some things that we've dealt with over the years, and people have come to us with some of the same issues and struggles and trials and tests. And so we're going to talk about those all year long. And I'm telling you guys, you don't want to miss an episode. It's just going to be phenomenal, the things we're going to talk about, the impact, how you're going to be able to relate to some of these things that we talk about, actually all of them, because each and every one of us, especially in the blended family, somewhere in that dynamic, there's some things that we're going to share that you're just going to be able to touch, you're going to be able to feel. And so we're just excited. So let's start, sweetheart.
So we're going to be talking about, our topic tonight is perspective, difficulties in the blended family.
Mm-hmm.
And our first point, blended families are commonplace in this day and age and present their own unique challenges alongside the family issues that occur in traditional families.
Read that again.
Blended families are commonplace in this day and time and present their own unique challenges alongside the family issues that occur in traditional families.
So first of all, we just want to start off by saying you need to understand that blended families, they're commonplace. In this day and age, blended families are commonplace. It's almost every 3 out of 4 families are blended families.
Mm-hmm.
Even if a person hadn't been married before, a lot of them have children.
Yes.
And so there are a lot of different dynamics. People are adopting. There are a lot of different dynamics that make up the blended family structure. And so this is becoming commonplace in this day and age. And because of that, they present their own, listen to this, guys, blended families present their own unique challenges alongside the family issues that occur in traditional families. So alongside of that, they got their own thing going. Go ahead, sweetie.
So did you remember the next one?
Yes.
Oh, okay. There are difficulties that the blended family can have that most don't consider. One of the biggest things would be the troubles that come along with becoming
a parent.
I don't lost my place. Along with, oh, okay. Let me read that. One of the biggest would be the troubles that come along with becoming a parent.
So stop right there. So there are difficulties that the blended family can have that most don't consider. Most people don't even consider when you enter into this blended family dynamic, most people don't even consider that there are going to be issues or difficulties that come along with it.
Mm-hmm.
I know, especially for us, I know I didn't consider. I'm pretty sure my wife didn't consider. We just believed that, we would come together and it will work itself out.
Mm-hmm.
But contrary to popular belief, it wasn't quite that way. And so one of the biggest would be troubles that come along with becoming a parent. And I wanted to start with that because that was one of the things that I myself dealt with.
Right.
Before Madeline and I got married, I had only been in my son's life for the first 6 months of his life. And so I was clueless as it relates to being a parent. That 6 months in comparison to 16 years is a grave difference. 6 months and 16 years. I had 6 months of parenting while my wife has 16 years with 3 children. And so that was a grave difference. My 6 months in comparison was as if I didn't have any experience at all. And that 6 months was, at the time we got married, was 3 years later.
Right.
So for me, it was like I had 6 months exposure without real experience. I was exposed to parenthood, but I didn't have any experience as being a parent. And so when we tied the knot, I was clueless as to what a parent was really about. I had no idea. What I thought I knew, or what I knew, I didn't quite know how to draw from it. Let me say that. Because there were some things that I knew. There's some things that we all know. Now, you might don't know parenting in its totality, but there's some things that you know. Right. Because there's some things that you learn growing up. There's some things that you see growing up. There's some things that you're exposed to growing up, even, in your individual families and your extended families. Right. So there were some things that I knew, but I didn't draw from those things. I just went on my own. I just went at this thing blinded, eyes closed, and said, here I go. And so there were a lot of theories out there that I had to, as it relates to what a parent was or is, but very little application. I had no application. Again, I was only a parent in relationship for 6 months, while my wife was a parent in relationship for 16 years with 3 daughters. And so I had very little application as it relates to that. Very little. Something you want to say? Okay. And jump in anytime, please. Jump in anytime. So listen to this. If you don't have any children of your own, or if you have not been a part of their lives before this relationship, it might be extremely difficult. Let me say that again. If you don't have any children of your own, or if you have not been a part of their lives before entering into this relationship, it might be extremely difficult to become a father or mother suddenly.
But that's why we've said in other broadcasts that it's important to go to counseling.
Yes.
Because that'll help you understand, what a parent is or what a parent does, and of course, during that time, we didn't go. So we kind of had to just, go through. So.
Did you guys hear that? If you don't go, you will go through.
Yeah.
I like that. We didn't go, so consequently, we went through.
And I'm not going to say we didn't go just because we
go ahead.
We didn't go because it wasn't available to us to go.
Exactly.
So
because we would have gone, and let me be clear on this. Your boy and your girl, we read and we read and we read. We wanted to fill ourselves with enough information as it relates to. We were well equipped on remarriage.
Right.
We had an understanding on getting married again, but as far as blended families go, we didn't have that information or that counsel.
Right. And I don't even know if at that particular time there was a lot of information even available. I mean, it could have been, but we just didn't know.
I was going to say that it could have been the information available, but in actuality, it wasn't even something that we thought about.
Right.
Because at that particular time, it wasn't a topic.
No.
You turn on the TV nowadays and everybody's talking about blended families.
Yes.
And you got the red table, you got this, you got all these blended families that's out here. When you're talking about 20 plus years ago, nobody was talking blended family issues. And so that was something that we didn't have the exposure to.
Yeah.
And so because we didn't go, no matter how you look at it, we didn't go to counseling.
Right.
And so because we didn't go, we went through. So listen, guys, we want to encourage you, if you are a blended family and there's something, this is something that, or you intending on being a blended family, we encourage you, not only encourage you, we command you to go to counseling.
Yeah.
It's a command. You're going to have to go to counseling. There are going to be some things that you guys are going to have to discuss as it relates to parenting, as it relates to finances, as it relates to romance, the whole 9 yards. You're going to have to discuss these things.
Yep. Had we been, and you know, it kind of make you think though, because had we been at the ministry that we're at now, because they offer, you know, counseling,
we might
premarital.
not be sitting.
Yeah, it's possible that we may not have, because it's very, you know, we didn't had to go, you know, to that because we were already married, but it pulls out enough information about both people where it could go either way. Either you decide, yeah, this, you know, this will work, or during that time you find out things that you need to know that could be like, oh no, now is not the right time. Not that that person may not be the right person, but it just might not be the right time.
It might not be the right person.
Or I mean, either way.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm just saying it don't necessarily have to be that it's not well, either way. It could not be the right person for you, or it could just not be the right time because there are things that need to be worked out in each person.
And or you just might not be mature enough to handle that situation.
Yes.
See, there was a lot of different things, and when we say, you know, we might not have been, we might not be here had we been where we are now. That's not saying because we don't get along, or you know what I'm saying, we have a rough relationship. That's not saying any of that. That's saying, had we had the proper counsel, the proper information, the proper instruction, we may not have chosen this. Because we would have looked at that and said, you know what, I don't think I want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to go down that road. This may be too hard. This may be something I just don't even want to deal with.
Yeah, because thinking back to the way that I was as far as being so like protective of my children and different stuff, like, and if I would have had to know at that time that like I would have had to put you first, I mean, just different things. At that time, I probably wasn't mature enough to be like, oh yeah, this, you know, I can do this. I would probably, like, no, because at that time, I think my kids would have, you know, been first.
Well, let me say this. I don't know, because I say,
either way.
I say that because a lot of times we say what we would do, until we in it. Yeah. A lot of times we'll say what we would do until we in it. And once we get in it, man, it's like what you said you was gonna do, that went out the window.
Yeah, the protective of our children.
Yes, exactly. You know, and they, listen, we talk with countless women who, before they get married, this is their stance. But as soon as they get married, that stance is out the window. And that's why I say that, because a lot of times what you say beforehand isn't quite what's going to happen once you do. Not saying that it doesn't, but for the most part it don't. And so
but it's back to counseling is like much needed.
Yes.
Suggested, commanded, like you say, it's something that you should do.
Man, listen,
we really should.
This not even, no, we're not asking you, we're telling you. You need to go through counseling. There's some things that need to be exposed and discussed in order for you to make the proper decision. This can't be a flesh decision. This can't be a decision because she got all the curves in the right places, or he got all the cuts in the right places, or they got the right height and they got the right skin tone, and you know, the teeth pretty and all that old, you know, all those old superficial things that we look for when we're looking for a person. It can't be about that when we talk about blended families. Not saying that that isn't important, but it's not the most important thing. Because you're blending families. You're not building, and you're not coming in starting a family, you're blending families. And so if you have not been a part of them,
you're still building, but you're building a blended family.
Correct.
So you're still building.
Correct.
But I know what you're saying.
Yeah, because you just cut me all off. Maybe think that's all.
Okay. Go ahead. I just want to make that clear, though. I don't want
No,
people to
you're
think that
exactly
just because it's
correct.
a blended family that you're not building. You're still building a family.
But it's it's a different build. It's a blend. Oh, it died on me. It's a blend.
Yes.
And so if you haven't,
if you have not been a part of that,
of their relationship, it might be extremely difficult to become a father or mother suddenly. Because watch this, when you enter into that blended family dynamic, that's suddenly. Mm-hmm. That's something that happens suddenly. Suddenly you are a father. Suddenly you are a mother. It's suddenly you're a parent. You just become, if you haven't been one or you haven't had much experience, now you want instant. Mm-hmm. And now this is almost trial by error. You're learning as you go. Mm-hmm. And so you want to make sure
you're gonna learning as you go, constantly mm-hmm. learning, really, because everybody growing, everybody maturing. You know, you have a whole family mm-hmm. of all different personalities, so it's forever learning. Even as our kids are grown now, and there's grandkids, we still learning things about them. So, and each other
all the time.
So it's a forever learning experience.
All the time. You're always learning.
And you should always want to learn.
Yes. Because watch this. Things change. Yes. Your principles shouldn't change, but things change.
And people.
And people change. The principles should always be the same. Yep. But the situations change. Mm-hmm. And that's why you got to know how to couple your principles along with situations. Yep. Because if not, you'll find yourself compromising to be recognized. You'll find yourself doing things that are against your moral standards because you want to appease everybody in this dynamic. And there are just some things that you're going to have to just make a stand on. Mm-hmm. There were some things we had to make a stand on. There were some things I had to make a stand on, regardless of me wanting to make everybody else happy. Now, wisdom, which I lacked at that particular time in those areas, would have made the transition or the move a lot smoother and easier, because most of you guys that know me, or those that don't know me, if you get to know me, I'm a cut and dry type of person. And so for me, it's not much in between. You know what I'm saying? The most in between I got is around my waistline. But as far as from my standings, exactly, I'm working on that too. But as far as my standings go, there's not much in between with me. It's either right or wrong. And so I didn't have the wisdom on how to work some things out. I didn't have the wisdom in how to implement some things. Not that I was wrong, but I wasn't wise about it. And the scripture says, he that winneth souls is wise. Mm-hmm. And so what is the soul? The soul of a man is his mind, his will, his intellect, and his emotions. So you winning those from a person, right, that makes you wise. And I lacked that wisdom at that particular time. And while I should have been winning my family, I was losing my family. And what do you mean by that? I was pushing my family away. Mm-hmm. So the closeness that we could have had and that we should have had, we didn't quite have until later. Until I developed that wisdom, because I'm a fighter. I've always been a fighter my entire life, and I don't like to lose. And so I just couldn't stand the fact that I was losing in life. And so I just began to just get tools that was going to assist me to win. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so understand that although I had some great examples on being a parent, I did what most of us do. I picked and chose what things I wanted to model from those examples. I had some great examples, and you guys heard me talk about that. I had some great examples, man, as far as the blended family go. And although at that particular time, I didn't look at those examples as blended family examples, that's exactly what they were. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the truth of the matter, and we always going to be truthful, is we all have those examples. We all have some examples just like the ones I had that are part of our lives or that have been a part of our lives growing up, that if we just now draw on them,
Right.
the good, the bad, and the ugly, it will assist us in being better parents and in a better blended family dynamic.
Yeah, to help with what to do, what not to do.
Exactly. You know, I again, I had one of my uncles, James. You know, this man, I saw him take my cousin and raise her as if she was his very own. And you would never know that she wasn't his biological daughter. He never treated her as if she wasn't his biological daughter, even though he knew. I mean, of course he knew, but even though even though he knew, I ain't trying to figure that one out. Even though he knew, but even though she wasn't his biological daughter, but he never treated her like that. I mean, the man's loving heart was just there.
And that's the goal.
That's the goal. The goal is to present a picture so when others look, they see it, they see God, they see Christ, they see love. Everything we do, we have to, and I love the example Apostle used. Everything we do, we have to funnel through love. We have to funnel that thing through love. And so I saw him funnel instruction, discipline, wisdom, you name it. I saw him funnel that through agape. So much so that she called him her father.
Right.
Even though she knew her father, she still called him her father.
Right.
Then I had another Uncle Richard. I saw the same thing. I saw this man take two of my cousins and raise them as his own. I saw him put them in a beautiful home. I saw him make anything they wanted, they had. You know, they had their own rooms. They had their own rooms way back then, you know, had their own rooms. I mean, both rooms had bunk beds in it. And I mean, just whatever they wanted, they had.
Right.
But it wasn't so much about, and let me be clear on this, guys, it wasn't so much about those things, but it was just the mere fact that he provided as if they were his own.
Right.
He took care of them as if they were his own. He didn't slack them because they weren't his biological. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't even know, and even they loved him up until, you know, until his transition as if he was their biological.
Right.
And so I had those examples, but I pick and chose some of the things from those examples instead of taking all of it. Yeah. Why are you laughing?
Because just because you said you pick and chose. So what parts did you, what did you think, like, what did you not pick? You don't even really know though, because at that particular
yes,
time,
I do. I didn't pick love. Oh. And what I mean by that is I wasn't loving.
Okay.
I loved, but I wasn't loving. It's a difference. Okay. And so, oh man, I'm glad you asked that question, because it's people watching right now, and you think you love, or you because you love, you think you're loving.
Yeah, and it's a difference.
And that's a difference. Love is what you see you doing. Loving is what others see you doing. Yeah, I wasn't loving at all. And so those are some of the things I picked.
No, but at that particular time, but for you during that time though, did you think that you were loving? You know what I mean? Or you knew? No, I'm asking because sometimes people think that
I'm not Henri. So I mean, I'm not an Henri dude.
That is love. I mean, no, you know what I mean?
But that's an Henri person. That's a person who they just nasty, mean, or whatever. I'm not an Henri person at all.
You was mean.
I wasn't loving. It was a difference.
You was nasty.
I wasn't loving. It's a difference.
So is that so that's not the same thing?
No. Because those things are done out of spite.
Oh, you just was doing it because you didn't know.
I just didn't know. I didn't know I wasn't loving.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I'm saying? Because again, I was looking through my
Right,
lenses.
that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't know that. You thought you were.
You couldn't tell me I wasn't.
I did.
Yeah, and I didn't listen either, did I? I didn't pay your butt no attention. Who you talking to? I don't know.
Kids heard you too.
I don't know what y'all was talking about. Because I was loving. Y'all could have said whatever y'all wanted to. At that particular time, I was loving.
No, but we pulled that out because sometimes, people think that they are, but sometimes you might need to ask the children.
Man, you gotta be ready to ask. You gotta be ready for the answers. You gotta be ready for the answers. You gotta be mature enough to handle the answers. Because watch this, in this blended family dynamic, guys, there are gonna be times every month we have family meetings. That's our goal every month. Matter of fact, it's gone so viral with it that even our pastor apostle said that he wants the families to meet every 15th of the month. Mm-hmm. Go over the last 30 days of your life, what you've done in accordance to your vision, in accordance to where you see yourself going, in accordance to where you want to come out of. Mm-hmm. Meet on those things and then discuss how you did a good job, or if you did not do a good job at all, and what measures you need to take to acquire those things. Mm-hmm. And so that was something that we did from the door. I mean, we was doing that 20 plus years ago. We was meeting like, because we had to, meeting. We were having those discussions because that's when I was learning even that the girls had a voice. Because I grew up in the era where a child stay in a child's place. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so when you hear that nonsense, a child stay in a child's place, what you're telling that child is that child doesn't have a voice. That child doesn't have the ability to communicate their thoughts, their feelings, their emotions, what they see, their insight. They don't have that ability to communicate. And not understanding that, watch this, guys. This is a little side nugget for you guys. We're not raising children, we're raising adults. Did you guys get that nugget? That wasn't a McDonald's nugget either. That wasn't a McNugget. That was a nugget. That was a gold nugget. That was one of them California bread nuggets. We aren't raising children, we're raising adults. Because watch this. Most of you guys right now are dealing with 25-year-old children. You're dealing with 35-year-old children. You know why? Because they were raised as children. They weren't raised as adults. They weren't raised to be responsible. They weren't raised to be mature. They weren't raised to be independent. They weren't raised to be adults. They were raised to be children. And just because they're of age does not mean that they are adults. They're just of age. And so that's important, guys. I picked and chose those things that I wanted to use that I saw. And those things apparently that I didn't choose, I didn't want to. I don't know. I just know I didn't. But we're sharing this with you guys because you have examples. When we begin to look back over our life and look back over our marriage and our relationship, we saw clearly that there were some examples in our lives that we could draw from. And so it's important, guys, that don't just pick and choose those things that you want to pick and choose. Make sure you're picking and choosing the right things.
Yep.
Parenting someone else's child or children can be a very hard thing. Of course, sweetie.
And that trying to get in there. I can't even see this thing. I'm so sorry, guys. Parenting someone else's children can be a very hard thing, and that trying to get in there
and be there,
to get in there and be their new dad or mom may not win you cool brownie points or favor points, especially if you're trying to replace their.
Hold on, stop for a second. A comma is meant for a purpose. It's a pause. You don't need for a comma. A comma is there to pause. Let's do that again, please.
Myself. I should have typed this, then I would know what I'm reading. You should let me type it. So parenting someone else's child can be a very hard thing. Trying to get in and be their new dad or mom may not win you any cool, brownie, or favor points.
Thank you.
Especially not if you're trying to replace their other parent or you're trying to discipline them for something.
You guys hear that? Parenting somebody else's child, man, or children can be a very hard thing, especially if you're trying to get in there and be their new mom or dad. Because you may not win any cool, you may not win any brownie or favor points. You may not win those points, especially when it comes to issues of replacing a parent. Because guess what? Unfortunately, in this blended family dynamic, you got people that want to take the place of somebody else. Right. They have a mother and you want to replace the mother. They have a father and you want to take the place of a father. That's not your place. Your place at that particular time now is to assist. Even if they're not there. And what I mean by that is even if they're absentee, you're not there to replace. You're there to assist. It's a difference. Mm-hmm. Now, in your assistance, you can transition and replacing. That's if they're not there.
What you mean, not there? Like totally?
Yes.
Like not
absent, avoid, away from.
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean by that.
Okay.
Or even deceased.
Got you.
Yes, that's what I mean by that.
Okay.
But understand this, guys. If you can't, it's not your. This is what I did. When Madeline and I decided, we were going to get married, I said, you know what? I know me. And so because I know me, I said, listen, I got to have a conversation with Walt. That's the girl's dad. I said, I need to have a conversation with him. And I called him up. I said, hey, how you doing there, sir? Is it possible that we talk? There's some things that I want to share and I want to discuss with you. And because I want to make sure that we're on the same page. Not a problem, Brandon. We can talk. And so we met up. I think he came over to the house and we sat and we talked. And I said, listen, I want to be clear on this one thing. I am not trying to replace you, sir. I am not trying to push you out of your place. I'm not trying to erase you out of their lives. All I want you to do is allow me to assist you in raising your daughters. I promise you, after that conversation, any issue that we had was very minimal. Mm-hmm. And it's for a very short time. Very minimal and for a very short time. Because he knew at that particular moment, I don't have to deal with him on this. Right. He's not trying to push me out. He's not trying to replace me. I've never had a discussion where I minimize his words in their life. You understand what I'm saying? And so these things are important, guys. Because you watch this. You're not going to win brownie points by doing that. You're not going to win cool points by doing those things. You're not going to win favor by doing those things. Matter of fact, you're going to lose all of that. What you mean? The points that you could be getting, you lose them.
If what?
If you're trying to replace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if you're trying to replace.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're trying to knock that biological parent out the way, guess what? You're going to lose points. Because every child has a special relationship with their parent. Every child. We talked about this even on Sunday. Talked with some great friends of ours. And one had a father that wasn't there, and one had a father that was there, and they trying to figure out which one had it worse. Because for both, even though one was there, it was as if he wasn't. And so you got to understand, guys, the child still gonna love their parent. They still gonna have a special place in their heart for their parent and in their mind for their parent. Because believe me, my girl's dad couldn't do no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was on a pedestal of all pedestals. He was on a pedestal of all pedestals. And you know what I appreciate so much? My wife did not try to knock him off. She let him be on their pedestal where they wanted to place him and left it there. And it was their decision whether or not as they grew, he would stay on that pedestal or not. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't anything influenced by her whether or not he stayed on that pedestal.
Exactly.
Or if you're trying to discipline him for something. Again, man, I lost a lot of points trying to discipline.
Yeah, because I wouldn't even suggest that biological parent that's just coming in to be
the blended.
I mean the blended. I'm sorry, I apologize. The blended parent to be the one to discipline. I mean, you would want to build the relationship first.
Correct.
You know, because you need to get to know, however many children, 1, 2, 3, they're all different. Mm-hmm. So you need to build a relationship with each child first before you discipline. I mean, I think that you probably win them better by not being the disciplinarian. Not that you can't correct, or you can't.
Well, let me say this. That's tricky. I get what you're saying, but the reason why I say that's tricky is because although you may not be the disciplinarian, because they're being disciplined, somebody's going to take the fall. Mm-hmm. You get that? Because they're being disciplined, somebody's going to take the fall. Unfortunately, when you come into this blended family dynamic, and even when it's the biological parent that's doing the discipline, mm-hmm. that child is going to automatically assume that that discipline is coming from the blended parent.
Not necessarily.
Yes.
Not necessarily.
Most times than not, they are. Because they're in their child's mind, they know how they want their family to be. And most children want in their home their biological mom and their biological father.
Absolutely.
And so when discipline comes in that dynamic, those thoughts are there. Not saying 100% of the time, let me be clear, but for the most part, they are. For the most part, and that's why you have to be very meticulous. You have to be very strategic. You have to make sure that it's funneled through love. You have to make sure that there's clear discussions and communication as relates to that discipline, because their mindset is automatically, they don't want anybody there to replace. They don't want anybody there that they got to look at when they really want to see that biological parent. That's not what they want. And so consequently, in their hearts, they feel that. Right, wrong, or indifferent. That's the feeling and thought that's there. And so you have to make sure that you work that out with wisdom. You have to make sure. Go ahead, sweet. The other thing.
The other thing.
So, that's me.
Oh, that's you.
Yeah, that was me. So the other thing I didn't consider, because this is key, guys. The other thing that I didn't consider, was understanding or realizing the hardship, struggles, and or difficulties that may come along with me for the children.
What you mean?
I'm going to tell you. Glad you asked. It never once dawned on me that the children were going to be going through a difficult time. Mm-hmm. It never once dawned on me. I never even thought about what they would deal with me being in this family. I never once thought about it. It never even entered my mind how they were going to go through, what their reactions were going to be, what their emotions were going to be. Because at the end of the day, it was me and Madeline, and y'all come along with it. And unfortunately, that's that's right, Darren. Wow, because most of us don't. It was just me. It was just me and Madeline, and I didn't consider what they were going to go through, how they were going to be responding. I didn't consider their emotions. I didn't consider their feelings. I didn't consider their thoughts. I didn't consider anything as relates to them. Only thing I considered was this PYT over here.
What?
PYT?
I don't know what no PYT is.
Pretty young thing.
Oh my gosh. Come on. I'm like, what's a PTY?
See, PT.
PYT. What? Just come on, go.
That, guys, is the short bus.
You rode the short bus. You still on it. Darren,
That's
don't
right,
laugh.
Darren.
Don't laugh at
that's
it.
the short bus, Darren. No, but I didn't consider that. It didn't even enter. Man, I promise you, it didn't enter my mind. It really didn't. And you know, as
all right, cousin, don't you be laughing either.
and the longer we're here, the more I begin to think about our family and what we went through and what would have assisted us had it been available to us. What decisions would or would not have been made, what choices would or would not have been made, the whole 9 yards. But I knew that I didn't consider them. And it was hurtful to realize that. It was hurtful to realize that I didn't even consider the most precious of them all. Watch this. Not only did I not consider them, I didn't even consider my son. I didn't consider what he would go through now, because watch this. His dynamic was different. He was in a family with his mother, with other siblings, and now he just had his dad on this end. But then I didn't consider the fact that he may feel like, wow, the one thing I had to myself, now somebody took that away from me. And those are the things, guys, you have to consider. You have to consider all, before you enter into this blended family dynamic. There's a litany of things that you're going to have to consider in order to be successful. In order to live this family, this dynamic out the way you should live it out, the way you could live it out, there are some things you're going to have to consider. It can't just be about the two of you. And unfortunately, in the beginning, it was about the two of us. More so on my end than on hers. Let me be clear with that. And so
but that's why, like, we got to keep going back to having some type of counseling, and not just for the marriage, it's for the entire family, so that the children can, have a safe place where they can speak their feelings, their thoughts. Because sometimes they, don't have a voice, or they may not tell their actual feelings. You know what I mean? Because sometimes kids only tell a parent what they think that parent want to hear.
So say that again, sweetheart. Say that again.
Sometimes kids will tell that parent what they think that parent want to hear, but that may not be their true feelings.
Exactly. Watch this. This is the time where I can say their truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you guys know how I feel about that statement, their truth. But they won't, though. Most times they won't tell their truth. They won't tell you how they really feel or what they're really going through. Because they're protective. A child's
not that
nature,
they won't, some may not,
Because a child's nature is to protect their parent.
Yeah.
A child's nature is to protect their parent at all costs. And don't think that child don't know that if they say something to you, that it won't hurt you. They know that.
Right.
They don't want to disappoint you. They don't want to let you down, because ultimately they do want to see you happy. They do want to see you rejoicing. They do want to see you joyful. They want to see you with all those positive emotions and feelings. And they know if they let you know some things, it's going to destroy you. And so I didn't think that becoming a part of this brand new family, that I was going to disrupt so many lives. I didn't think about that. There were some things that my wife and the girls did. That's right, Kelly. It's so true. Because there were some things that they did on a regular basis that when I came along, I disrupted that. They had communication time. They had times where, because, she is one that believes that the early bird catches the worm. And so she's going to bed early. She is going to bed early. Yes. But I didn't consider that before she went to bed, that was the time she used to communicate with the girls. Because guess what? They were in school. She was at work. She wanted to know how that day was. She wanted to know what they were going through. They wanted to talk to their mommy. They wanted to, they love her. And so I didn't realize how I disrupted that, or how much I disrupted that. I disrupted their whole way of life, their whole way of living off of my own thing. Because again, I didn't have the counseling. I didn't have the instruction. I didn't have the wisdom. I lacked that. And scripture clearly tells us, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask it of God. And I didn't even know that I was lacking wisdom in that area. And that's why I didn't make full proof of those things early on, because of what I lacked. But I didn't realize that coming into this thing, man, I was going to disrupt so many lives. Not only did I disrupt my daughter's lives, the way that they were accustomed to doing things, but also I disrupted my son's life. Because I presented to him, remember I told you guys, I presented to him that I didn't want him, and that watch this. This is what I did. When I decided to marry Madeline, this is what I told my son. Not verbally, but through my actions. You guys ever hear the saying, action speaks louder than words? Well, guess what? My actions were screaming. Those actions were on bullhorn. They were across the PA system. They were coming through microphones. They were at the concert venue. I told my son that, guess what? I choose them over you. I had no idea the disruption that I was causing in his life. Did I verbally tell him that? No. Did I mentally tell him that? No. But my actions spoke that to him. My actions spoke to him that he was no longer valued in my life. That he was no longer a necessary piece of my puzzle. That's what my actions spoke to him. And I wasn't even smart enough to see that that's what I was speaking, because I was still going on with life as usual. I was still going on with life as a custom. And so I painted that picture. No matter what you may think about your decision, these are real issues that children deal with in the blended family. I don't care what you think about your decision. You got to understand that these are real issues.
And in their minds, they have their own thoughts of what things are. Just like sometimes, like even as parents, we can, in blended families, you can think that you're doing A, B, C, or D. But if you ask that child or ask those children, they'll have a whole different story.
I tell my children all the time, those that are parents, I don't care what you think you're doing. It may not be what the children think. Because guess what? There were some things that we thought we were doing great. We found out real soon that that's not what they thought.
Right.
You could be thinking you're giving all the love, all the emotions, all the protection, all the provisions. You could be thinking you're giving all those things, and that child is seeing something totally different. And unfortunately, most parents can't handle knowing that truth. They can't handle it. Children might struggle. Read that, sweetheart.
Children might struggle with the new family dynamic or feeling like they have to share their parent. On many occasions, you said just
Then that's me.
That's you again.
On many occasions.
Go ahead, read it. I'm trying to get it to a place.
On many occasions, he moving the words up and down like I'm following that. On many occasions, my son. On many occasions, my son mentioned the fact that he didn't want to share me with someone else's children. Someone else's children. On many occasions, he told me that.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, you ain't never tell me that.
Yeah, because I heard it.
To me.
Yeah.
That's new.
Guess what? I told you in 2020, it's going to be a whole lot of new stuff that's going to be out here. On many occasions, he shared that with me. That he didn't want to. You know why? Because he shared his mother with others. And I was the only thing that he had to himself. Because I didn't have any other biological children. And so that was my only biological child. And so for me to enter into this dynamic, it was sharing me with others. And he didn't want that. I was the one thing that he can hold and say he had it all to himself. Because watch this, in his house, he didn't have it all to himself. He didn't have a bed to himself. He didn't have a room to himself. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have a bathroom to himself. He didn't have a closet to himself. You know, he had clothes to himself because he was the oldest and the biggest. But other than that, there was nothing that he had. There was nothing that he had to himself. Why are you laughing at me?
No, it just took me to a whole another story. But just took my mind there.
Yeah. But understandably so. Because he was already sharing his mother with other children that were not mine. Those other children were not mine. So selfishly, he wanted something to call his own. He wanted something to call his own. So those are things, guys, you gotta understand, you gotta realize. I told you, we're gonna be sharing some stuff this year, man.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that probably most children feel when one biological parent has left, the relationship, and then they're with that one parent, whether it be they, a single mother or a single father, because it could be either way.
Correct.
And it's been that way, and then now somebody else come in, now it's like, okay, so now not only have they kind of lost that biological parent, now they feel, that's not in the, family anymore because of divorce or whatever. But now they have someone else that's come in, and now for a period of time, they feel like that person has also taken their parent away. So it's like I think that us as adults dealing with divorce, it is very difficult, very challenging. However, I think that when you have younger children, I think their emotions and the stuff that they deal with could possibly be even more of a struggle than for an adult, because a lot of times we may know how to channel emotions. We may know how to handle certain things. Younger children, may not know how to channel all those emotions that they're feeling. That's why you may find where grades start changing, behavior, just all these different things.
Well, see, yes and no. I say yes and no because younger children are innately loving.
What I'm just saying, under like 18. I'm not saying like they got to be babies. I'm just saying.
No. I'm just saying, innately they loving.
Yes.
What hinders that, or what blocks that, or what stops that from transitioning the way it should, is us,
adults.
The adults not doing our part properly.
I agree.
You get what I'm saying? Because if you do your part properly, they're gonna have, some of them gonna have issues. Some of them are gonna be stuck.
Alleviate some of the
stuff. Yeah, some they're gonna have that, but it's you. Because let me tell you something. My personality is strong. It's drawing. I can draw you or I can run your way. And so there were, in the beginning, before we got married, I was drawing them. Then after we got married, I ran them away. Because I stopped doing those things that I was doing beforehand.
Yeah, you became a different person.
Yes. I became a parent. I became married. I became,
crazy.
all the above. All of the above. And so, it's real.
Oh my gosh.
Go
We're
ahead,
out of time. No, it's 7:56.
Oh, wow.
That
And so,
went fast.
no, but listen, guys, let's go back on this real quick.
Hurry up.
Yes. But you got to understand that this dynamic, it comes with a lot. Mm-hmm. It comes with a lot, and we have to enter in this knowing that there are difficulties that can be in a blended family. Mm-hmm. If you come in this blended family thinking that you're not going to have any issues and that everything's going to be rosy, guess what? You're deceiving yourself, because it's just not going to be that way. There are going to be some things, because you got personalities.
Right.
You got mindsets.
Absolutely.
You got systems that are already in place that you're trying to change and make one system or turn or cultivate one system into another. Mm-hmm. Because my wife had a system whereby she operated with her daughters. I had a system whereby I operated by myself, and then I try to come in and make their together system my single system. Mm-hmm. Man, I was making a mess. Mm-hmm. And too often we so prideful in ourselves that we don't want to conform into righteousness. Because watch this, righteousness isn't me being right, it's me being in right standing. It's a difference. Because what profits a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? What profits you to be right and then lose your family? What profits you to be right, to prove your point, to prove you the man, to prove you the woman, and then everything else falls by the wayside? What profit is that? And so we want to encourage you guys, listen, understand that there may be some difficulties in this blended family, but there's some things that you can put in place that will assist you and take you to that level, to that next level, that next dimension. And so listen, guys, one of those things is this awesome short read. It's called The ABCs of the Blended Family. This one. It's called The ABCs of the Blended Family. You guys want to get your hands on that? You can reach us at weareablendedfamily@gmail.com. And that's how you'll place your order. We're still working out a price point with Amazon. And so because it's a short read, there's some things that we want to make sure we get out of this. But you want to get this in your hands. It's $15.
Yes.
It's $15. And there are nuggets from A to Z that are applicable for everyday life that you can just go through. You can pick one of those nuggets and say, this is what I'm going to focus on. This is what I'm going to put my attention to. And we promise you guys, it will assist you in growing this blended family. Also, sweetheart, tell me about the broadcast.
Okay, I got this. Send us an email, anybody that send me information. We are a blended family at gmail.com. Also, don't forget to check out our website, indeblenderministries.com. You can get your t-shirts. I don't know if you guys can see it, but we have t-shirts. You can order your t-shirts there. Also, tune in on Thursday nights from 8 to 9 p.m. on WJMS Radio. Live 365. You can catch the replay of this on Thursday night.
From 8 to 9. It comes on from 8 to 9. You want to make sure you tune that in, because guess what, guys? We're in over 150 countries. Hear that again. We're in over 150 countries. And so we solicit your participation. We solicit you guys tuning in with us as we grow And we love you guys. We thank you guys for tuning
Thanks,
in.
guys.
We won't be on next week.
Tuesday, but we'll be back the Tuesday after that.
Exactly. This year we're doing things a little bit different, so we won't be doing every Tuesday, but we're doing every other Tuesday and some pop-ups.
Yes.
We thank you guys for tuning in again to In the Blender, and until
Bye,
next
guys.
week, bye-bye.
God bless.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.